In the comforting light of the honeymoon room, I watched as Marrera, with that adorable smile I'd seen on her face, unloaded her bags. Long ago, I fell head over heels for someone. At the time, it all seemed like a dream, and I didn't want to wake up from it. As we danced our first dance as husband and wife under the glittering lights of a starry sky, it was nothing special, but the intimate, unforgettable love between Clara, her parents, and Marshall had been all over the planning. Choosing flowers, worrying over table settings, I didn't mind much. Since Ty, their only daughter, appeared so joyful that night in her white dress, I assumed they were simply overjoyed to see her. I imagined it was the beginning of an eternal love story, as our moonlit garments shimmered and we whispered promises. To one another, everything felt perfect. But then, seemingly out of nowhere, Clara and Marshall proposed an unusual family vacation just a few days after the wedding. I was somewhat taken aback when I learned that it was just Mara and them, leaving for Scottsdale for a supposed quiet retreat. Shocked, I wanted to whisk her away, even though we'd only been married for a week. The thought didn't sit well with me. It stung. But Myra's eyes lit up as they brought it up. She gripped my hand and said, "It's just a few days, sweetheart. I'll be right back." I just didn't want to be that guy, the envious husband who refuses to give his wife a break. So I swallowed the discomfort, nodded, and said, "Sure, go have fun." I thought I was being understanding, supportive even. Looking back now, that was my first mistake, and it's one I'll never stop hating myself for. The moment I accepted, things moved like a crack opening in glass, one you don't notice until everything shatters. I drove her to the airport, kissed her goodbye, and watched her walk off with Clara and Marshall, their baggage rolling behind them. Clara flashed me this tight little smile, the type that doesn't reach the eyes, and Marshall merely nodded, his expression bland as always. I told myself it was okay. She'd be back in 4 days and we'd pick up right where we left off, newlyweds, head over heels, establishing our life together. I went home that night, sat on our couch, and glanced at the empty spot where she'd typically be snuggled up next to me. The house felt too quiet. No giggles. No humming as she made tea. I attempted to shake it off, assured myself I was overthinking things. "It's just a trip," I kept saying in my head. Just a trip. But deep down, I couldn't shake this gnawing sense that I'd just given her over to something. I didn't comprehend. I flicked on the TV, scrolled through my phone, anything to keep busy. I even wrote her a quick, "Miss you already," hoping she'd reply fast. She did. A simple, "Miss you too." That should have calmed me down, right? But it didn't. That night, I barely slept, tossing and turning in our too enormous bed, wondering why couldn't her parents wait a little longer to pull her away? Why so fast? The next morning, I woke up to a picture she sent. Her, standing beside a pool, sunglasses on, smiling big. "Having fun already," she wrote. I stared at it for a long time, trying to be happy for her. She looked beautiful, like always. But something about the photo felt off. Like a piece was missing, I wrote back. "Pleased you're loving it. Tell Clara and Marshall hi." She didn't reply for hours, and when she did, it was just, "They say hi back," no specifics, no small anecdotes about her day like she usually sent. Brushed it aside. Maybe she was busy. Maybe she was just relaxing. But that twist in my gut wouldn't go away. By day 2, I was pacing the house, replaying every moment of the wedding in my mind. Clara's comments about my job. "It's nice you're so sensible." Marshall's silent stares, starting to feel heavier. I didn't get why they'd pushed so hard for this trip. Was it really just a family thing, or was there something else going on? I didn't know it then, but that question would change everything. Because soon I would find out. The honeymoon glow, the one I believed would endure forever, was already fading, and I was the last one to see it. She always had that smile, like she was above it all. "We may have encouraged him," she remarked, her voice smooth and casual, like she was talking about picking out curtains. "But he misinterpreted. We just gave him a tiny gift, invited him to dinner. Nothing criminal, Mira." I almost choked on the air. "A little gift? Supper? This wasn't some friendly meet and greet. They'd flown her out there, paraded her around with this guy, and now they were acting like it was no big issue." Mira's head snapped back, her mouth opening like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. "You promised him I'd leave my husband," she said, her voice rising, shaking harder. Clara shrugged. Like it was nothing. "We wanted what's best for you," she said. "Theo's a good man, successful, from a strong family. We assumed you'd see that eventually." I stood there, my jaw tight, feeling the rage build up but keeping it locked down. Best for her? They didn't give a damn about what she wanted, or what I wanted. This was their game, their rules, and I was simply the guy in the way. Mira turned to me, her face pale, her eyes begging. "I didn't know," she said again, like it was the only thing she could say. "I swear, I didn't know they were doing this." I stared at her, truly looked at her, and all I could see were those photographs, her laughing with Theo, his arm around, her not pulling him away. "You didn't know," I said, my voice low and steady. "But you didn't stop it either, did you?" She flinched, her hands twisting together. I could tell she was scrambling for something to say. "It wasn't like that," she murmured. "I thought it was simply friendly. I didn't think—" "You didn't think?" I cut in, stepping closer. "You didn't think it would seem awful to let some guy hang all over you while your folks cheered him on? You didn't think to call me? To tell me what was going on?" She shook her head fast, tears spilling over. "I didn't want to worry you. I thought it was nothing, just Mom and Dad being them." I laughed, short, bitter. "Them? You mean the people? Who think our marriage is a mistake they can remedy with a better offer?" Clara jumped in, her voice sharp now. "That's enough," she said, pointing at me. "You're blowing everything out of proportion. We didn't push her to do anything. She could have walked away." "Walked away?" I turned on her, my voice rising for the first time. "You flew her out there, locked her in a hotel with this person, fed her lies about how he's her future. What was she supposed to do? Run back home with no car, no plan, while you two kept pressing?" Marshall cleared his throat, eventually glancing up from his phone. "Let's all calm down," he said, his tone flat. "No one's suggesting we planned a divorce. We just thought she'd see reason." Reason. That term hit me like a stone. They thought I was the unreasonable one, the guy she'd married, the guy she'd sworn to love, the guy who'd been waiting here like a fool while they played matchmaker. Mira slumped back into her chair, her hands covering her face. "I can't believe this," she mumbled. "I can't believe you'd do this to me." Clara sighed, like she was tired of justifying herself. "Mira, we've always wanted you to have the greatest. This marriage, it was fast. We didn't get a chance to guide you." "Guide me?" Mira's head shot up, her voice breaking. "You think hooking me up with some guy behind my husband's back is guiding me?" I watched her, waiting to see if she'd turn that wrath on me too, blame me for digging this out, for putting it all out there. But she didn't. She just sat there, staring at her parents like they were strangers. "I didn't sleep with him," she said suddenly, staring at me now. "I didn't. I wouldn't do that." Her eyes were pleading, asking me to believe her. But I didn't say anything. I simply nodded once, letting her words hang in the air. Maybe she didn't sleep with him, but she let him in, let them all in, and that cut just as deep.